Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. I know it's Thursday, so it's not normal for me to do a video on Thursdays, but this is an update video. This weekend I'm going to be very busy and unable to do a video, but I want to give you an update what's going on, talk about these CNC heads, but also some way bigger news, especially for you Ford guys. So here's what happened. Yesterday, which would be Wednesday, we put the small block Ford, the 427 that Kuntz built the short block, Dunsworth put the rest of it together. It has my Trick Flow high port 253cc heads on it, a BMP intake manifold that I ported on top of it, and it had actually had John Vitone's cam in it as well, which I'll talk about a little bit more why in just a second. But we dynoed that to break it in, make sure the engine's okay, and get our initial baseline as far as power and timing and whatnot. It was very successful. So what did it make? Well, this is interesting. So John Vitone's cam, in case you're wondering, he's the cam competitor. His cam is by far the largest as far as duration. There's others that have more lift, but his by far from duration is the most. Anyway, so what I had Gary at Dunsworth Machine Shop do is whenever he was putting this engine together, I said, why don't you check the piston and valve with his cam first? Because if one's going to hit, it'll be his. It cleared fine. But he was supposed to put Daniel's Powell's cam, he's not in the cam challenge, but he was going to be our baseline camshaft. He's supposed to put that camshaft back in it after that, and then we were going to run a baseline with that. He just forgot. So he left John Vitone's camshaft in it, so we did the whole entire break-in and everything with it. And that's the reason why it's there. This does not count it as competitive pulls, but that's what it was. It ended up making 719 horsepower and 540 foot-pounds of torque. Quite honestly, I'm a little astonished that it even did that. This is only 11.2 compression ratio. Now, we did run it on 110 race gas. That's only for safety. In all fairness, if this wasn't part of the cam challenge, I'd be running on pump gas. 91 octane stuff here. It's low enough compression, never have an issue. But anyway, ran it on race gas just to keep the engine safe, just for this cam challenge. But 719 horsepower. His camshaft and the heads work really well. So these heads, I am very proud of them. Now, I could say they're great. These heads will be available by me for sale, so you can buy them from me. And also through Chris Straub at Straub Technologies, he also will sell the heads as well. But they're full CNC ported. It's got my own port design on it. It doesn't have Trick Flow stuff. And there's nothing wrong with the Trick Flow heads, the 240s, but I just did some different stuff, and it took a little bit, but these are definitely good. Being that that cam was so large, it made its peak power at 7,500 RPM. And I shouldn't even say it made its peak power there. That's just where we stopped pulling. Because as you know, from the cam challenge, the test goes from 5,000 to 7,500 RPM. I just want to make sure we could make it. That wouldn't have any valve float issues or nothing like that. And yeah, it went to that RPM and that was still there. Its peak torque was at 6,600 RPM. So as you could tell, that camshaft's definitely made to run further out. Here's what was tested, just so you know. Usually I'll change like 5 or 6 different things just to see where we can get at. That's not what happened with this one. Put on the 1050 carburetor. The last time I dynoed with it was with the Circle Track engine with the same fuel. It's running a tad rich, I'm not gonna lie. It's 12.3 to 12.8, somewhere in the runs. That's where it's ranging. In all fairness, I probably could back the jet down and it would make more, because plugs are showing a little rich too. Not like dangerous or nothing like that, just like it looks like if I took 2 out all the way around, it'd gain more. I'm not gonna do it for the challenge just because I want it to be safe, because I know some of the cams are probably gonna push it. Also on timing, I probably could add 1 or 2 more degrees of timing and make a little bit more, because it jumped up a bunch when I added just 2 degrees. So point being is it's on the safe side, but after the competition's over, I'm gonna push it a little bit and see where we can actually get it to max out. But nice thing. So engine's broke in. Now we just got to set a time frame for when the dyno challenge or cam challenge is going to happen. So if we look at the schedule, when Gary and I were talking about this, next week I'm pretty much booked solid, like as far as work. There's jobs that have to get done. So he has some time, but I don't have any, unless I could just work a miracle, which I don't know that I can. So next week ain't gonna happen. The week after that is July 4th week, because July 4th I think falls on a Friday, and Gary has to get stuff done on Thursday, so that may not work anyway, because we need a solid 5 days for sure. So it might be the week after July 4th, maybe the week of July 4th, but it would take a huge miracle. Really, we need one more person in the dyno cell to help us with this, because I could tell you the thing that's going to take the longest is lashing the valves and the rocker stuff. Because they're shaft rockers, you can't just pull them off individually. You got to get both the intake and exhaust rocker on its base circle, and then you can move the shafts. Otherwise, you're going to break them. So that is going to eat some time. There's no way around it. The pulling the cam part out and the intake, that takes some time, but nothing like the lashing of the valves and pulling off the rockers. That's going to be our ultimate time deal. So it would be nice to have another person in there, which I'm trying to figure out some other people to kind of help. It's tough because I don't have the funds to pay someone to come in. So maybe with the LS challenge, I probably could have. This, you guys have donated, in case you're wondering, what's the total amount of money that's been donated? It's like $3,500. I've got more of that in just the heads, the MSD crank trigger, and just the distributor. That doesn't include the valve springs I had to buy, retainers, locks, head gaskets, pay Dunsworth to put it together, the dyno time for this last time. Like in all fairness, I think I'm in the hole something like $3,000 and the competition hasn't even begun. So I still have to pay for the dyno time as well. So the entry fees should pay for most of that. So hopefully I won't lose so much. But that's the reason why next week I really have to get stuff done just to pay the bills. But I need another person in there really to make things go quicker. But that's the engine itself, really, really good. Buy those heads from me, because now that I've got dyno tests on them, I could tell you that's good. I'm really proud of those. And even though it made 719, it ended up making 715 because we ended up adding one more quart of oil because the oil pressure was kind of falling off at the end. So it dropped a little bit by adding 1 quart, but it needed it for the oil pressure, made our hearts feel better. But that pulls probably won't be the same as what happens whenever we do the competition. The reason why is, and you probably could hear from the video, all you heard was a bunch of wind sound. That's because he tightened the belt on his fan to draw the air from the dyno room. So that's pulling air out of the dyno room, great. So it's evacuating awesome. Matter of fact, it's got so much suction and it's pulling in the wall. The disadvantage is it's making the engine pull against vacuum. So on the competition, what's going to happen is we'll have the air hat hooked up and it'll pull from the outside, or it should pull from the dyno room where we're actually pulling the dyno from. So it may change the power is what I'm trying to say. Don't think this is it. Also, I had the valves lashed at 23 and his cam card says 25. If he tells me to go with 23, that's what I'm running, which would be exactly what it was. So please, John, don't make me change it because it's just going to take longer. Anyway, that's what's going on. Should be, like I said, it's coming up. I just don't have time. If the 4th of July weekend was in the week after next, we'd have time. And it almost has to be the week after July 4th because the following week I've got to take my son down to Henderson State for his freshman orientation. So yeah, lots going on. But anyway, let's talk about these CNC heads and then also the small block Chevy Cam challenge, because one of these heads will be given away if you donate to the small block Chevy Cam challenge. But let's go on to the next thing. Now, this is all small block Chevy stuff. Well, not all, but if you're not into it, I get it. Right now, I have these heads for sale. Now, these are Chinese casting. They're allegedly an imitation of the AFR 220. These are for sale. I'll put a link in the description. I've only got, I think, 2 sets of these left, these 220s. Now, the 210s, which are here, these ones also I've got available. Allegedly, they're a copy of the AFR 210s, and I've got 3 sets left. There are also a link in my online store. Well, that'll be there. And you can purchase those. I'm only mentioning because I'm about to run out. But I developed these are not my programs. So these were CNC ported over in China. I do end up having to redo the intake valve job just because they don't seal from the factory. So even though this looks beautiful, I redo the intake valve jobs every time because they don't seal. However, one of the things I was really working on, as you guys know, is I have my own CNC programs, especially for the Dragon Slayer, and that's what Old Man's Garage Bob had on his car. But I was trying to work out other ones just to save myself some time. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, and I know I'm seeming like I'm getting off a little rant here. I have the most amount of money I've ever lost in a business is trying to develop CNC programs. It has been a loss of money beyond belief. So if you're a head porter and you're like, I'm going to have someone digitize my heads and this will save me time and money. Because people kept saying that constantly in the comments when I was telling them, look, man, I'm like 10 months behind on head porting because it was all done by hand. And they're like, you should do it, get someone to do your CNC work. I have never lost so much money ever than I have from having heads digitized and then the program, somehow the head's not right. I've never lost as much money. And now currently, even though I have CNC heads like my Dragon Slayers, which are phenomenal, I make a third of what I used to hand porting. So if you're like one of the guys like, man, you need to get a CNC, even if I had one, I'd be in the same position. So sorry for the rant, but the point I'm trying to say is I'm still developing them because I'm just trying to save myself some time, so hopefully I can get out more product. So this was the next one that came up with. So what the idea was is at the time I had these ProMax 235s and I did a program for ProMax, and you can order the ProMax 235 from them. But after dynoing that, I was like, I kind of want to do something different and see if it makes more power. And I haven't had a chance to see, but I also want to see if I could develop a program that will fit in multiple heads. So this is the Project X 215 from ProMax. And this was as cast. And I redid the port program. It's different from the one that's you get from ProMax that I did. This one's different. And really the biggest thing was I was trying to see if I changed the location of this vane, because they have it all the way over here. I was trying to get it more this straight, but that's about as much material as I had, to see if this would change the power output. But the real biggest thing was, can I get this port to fit into different heads? And I'm gonna show you what heads I was trying to get it to fit into. And the answer is yes, but it's, like I said, it's costing me some money. So this was could I fit it this program? If someone sent me a ProMax Project X 215 head, you bought it as cast, you got it for a great deal from ProMax, or you bought it from me, thank you, and you want to come and send it in to get ported, and it's on a 400 or even a, something like that. Yeah, can you port it? Yep, I have a CNC program for it. So put it in a machine, this is how it'll come out. Now it's not valve job yet, this is just the 208 valve job. I still have to put the other one in it. I have two options for this. I can do a 2125 intake valve or a 210, 383 versus 400. But as you can tell, it turns out pretty good. The other head I wanted to put it in was this one. So this is that 210 I was telling you for sale. Well, this is the same casting, but there's slight differences. So when ProMax has this head, they get it from the same place that this head comes from. But there's some differences. One being, if you look at the exhaust flange here, ProMax has it completely milled back. If you look at this one, they're not. See, it's got some areas here. So these ones are left out a little bit. But the other thing is, these ones are 8mm stems, while ProMax's are 11/32 stems for their valves. So I wanted to see if this program that fits this head would fit into that head, and it does. So this is what it looks like with the 8mm stuff and that one. So it looks great. It's not quite as good as having it done on this as cast head. That one actually turned out better. But there's one thing I'm trying to work through. So the program's not perfect, and most of you wouldn't even notice this, but this is what I mean by frustrations with the beginning parts of getting heads digitized. And this is not on the guy that digitized it at all or ported it. He did a fantastic job. It's just a learning experience, because you wouldn't know this unless you do more heads. You see these holes for the push rod slots? You would like to think that they are centered where they should be and they're just mirrored from each port and everything should be fine. You would like to think that. They are not. So, and this has happened several times. It seems like it happens continuous. It happened a bunch when I first developed the Dragon Slayers too. And at the beginning we had to keep moving the program in to avoid this. Because what has happened is, make sure it's the right one. It's going to be, yeah, not this one, this one. Let me pause it and I'll show you. So here's the problem, and you wouldn't even notice looking at it. You don't even see a problem. Look at the ports, you don't see a problem. Nope, they look great. Here it is. So I'm going to take my flashlight and I'm going to shine it down this tube. See, that's the push rod slot hole. Maybe behind it here just a little bit. Let me get out. There you go. See it? If you look in that slot, you'll see a bubble that goes almost the whole way down. See it? That's where it's starting to blister. What it means is the aluminum is really thin in that area. Now, has it broke through yet? Nope. Will it later in the future? Don't know. Probably could crack and break through. Probably gonna probably eventually going to happen. Don't like that at all. So my Dragon Slayers did really hard to get that out of the way. It took a while to make it happen. And that's the reason why one version requires a shaft rocker, because of this. But here's the thing. You would think that's on every hole. Nope. Because check out this hole. Not one. So it should be on this side. Clean. Nothing. And it's not the CNC guy that did it. It's not his fault. It's where they put these. So from the factory, because they come from China, boom, broke through. And it only takes a few thousand. It's not necessarily broke through, just blistered. So what I'm going to do is, and this is the thing I hate about these heads, same with the AFR heads, are the same way. This is an AFR head. I have to take an end mill and blow all that out. And then just so I can get the welder to get in there, because I'm not going to weld, I'm going to have someone pay someone that's a good welder to do it. But I'm going to mill all this out, fill that in with weld, grind it, and you can get it back to this dimension so you can run your regular rocker. And I've got to do on that one and that one. This one's fine and this one's fine. But what I'm going to do is, once it's fixed, and by the way, the sad part is I just didn't send them one set. I sent them 3 sets. So this one set's got to be repaired, but this one I'm going to give away. And I'm going to this set. So here's what's going to happen. If you donate to the Small Block Chevy Cam Challenge, and that one's going to come up later, probably August, September at this point, but that one's going to have the supercharger on it. It's going to be run on E85. It's going to be fuel injected. It's going to be run NA, 5 pounds of boost, 10 pounds of boost. It's going to be pretty incredible. I'm going to release all the rules coming up probably next week. But if you donate, and it's a $20 donation, I'm going to randomly select someone, and you can win a fully assembled set of these. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to give one of the sets away to whoever that is. So if you donate, besides getting all the data that goes with the Cam Challenge, like the cam cards, the dyno numbers, and everything else that goes with it, you have a chance to win a set of Small Block Chevy heads. So, and trust me, they'll be fine when they're done. I'll make sure everything's good to go, and you'll get a flow sheet with them. In case you're wondering about how much do you think these flow. The prototype went at like 325, so these are probably going to end up flowing 320. You're like, that's it? I know. This is not made to, this is made for a street strip guy. It's not like my Dragon Slayers. These will probably make really good power, but the thing is about these was I was just trying to develop more of a cheaper head. So in case you're wondering, well, how much was a brand new set cost? It's going to be about $3 grand. So that's the price point, which seems kind of high, but man, everything is high. Everybody's making money on these heads except me, it feels like. FedEx makes money on it. Well, the guy that digitized it, he should make some money. But I'm going to make something, but it ain't enough hardly. But that's the plan for these. But that's not the only thing. So besides having it fit in that casting and this one, the one I really wanted to get it to fit into is this one. The biggest reason for developing that program is I wanted to make sure if it could fit into these. This is an AFR 210. That's the program. So I took that program and I put it in AFR 210. So I'm not all the way proved out on that, because this port here, it's fine on its, no bubble whatsoever. But I didn't have it mirrored over into that one to see if it would bubble on this one as well, if it was a porting program or the push rod slots. So I need to test one more time to make sure, and if not, and by the way, these 3 sets that I have on this style, they're all going to be repaired, but after that, it's getting fixed, because we're going to end up moving some stuff around. We're going to the programming, we're going to move the port program to back this way some, and adjust some other things to make sure that this doesn't happen again, so everything can be fine from here out. But I want to make sure it's fine, because this way, if you already have an AFR 210, which I know I've sold many of them, and you're like, step it up your game, you know, maybe you're on a 383, you're going to go to 400, and you're like, I don't want to buy a whole new set of heads, because golly, they're costing so much now. If I could just send them off to have them ported, bam, I got it. That's what the purpose of this was. Send them off to me, I'm going to port them, they'll go back, and boom, you got them. You don't have to buy a whole new set of castings and anything like that. You're saving yourself a little bit of money. That was the plan for it. That's the reason when they're not like the Dragon Slayers. Dragon Slayers is like, balls out. Everything's in, we're doing our best. Oops. That wasn't the only one head that got to me this week. This one finally came back. This one I'm still gonna have to, this is the Brodix DN9. This is my head. And I had developed these two ports, and I had Chris Straub digitize it. This will also be available through Chris Straub and me. And I just got it back. I have a clue what it flows. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not the one that's gonna be like, is this as good as MBE's? No, they moved around valve spacing and it's probably 4 times as large as this thing. But on my bench, this flows about 560, which you're like, that's it? I think the stock one does that. Probably not on my bench, it won't. But it's really, really good down low. And you can see there's shadows. Even though this is a CNC course, somehow we still have shadows. I'm gonna have to fix some of the programming. See what I mean? You lose your rear end every time when you do these. So I got to adjust some of the programming or do some different things to get this out. What I'm probably gonna end up doing is I'll send them the head, I'll mill the head down, then send it off, and then I'll clear up some of that spot. So that never happens again. But there's some other things I need to work with, and I'll show you this. Probably more than you wanna know. There's a wing in the port. So it's a little one there. So this port should be that one. Look at the wing. This is the fully ported one. Now look at the one that was supposed to be copied from. Not even close. So I have to, I'm losing my rear end on this one. I have to go back in and somehow have them redigitize this so they get the better detail. But it's even more obvious on the long runner. Look at the pointingness of it. That's supposed to be its port. Nope, close. This is the reason why if you ever like, man, the CNC machine makes things so much better. The program you first design is usually the one that's better. That they just missed it. And I think what's happened is whenever they digitize, and I haven't talked to Straub about this, and I've tried calling though, but I think what's happening is when you digitize, if you make the probe go faster, in other words, instead of doing it every, I don't know, say 10 thousandths, it's taking a touch, you make it go every 30 to save yourself time from the thing moving around so much, you'll miss details. So instead of it hitting like, if I do only like every 5 through here, it would capture the entire detail of that hump. But if you did every 30 thousandths, well, it's gonna miss some of the detail where it went down. And then when it copies that, it's missed the detail. And I think the same thing has happened on the vane, and that's why it's got shadows instead of, because that one should be that, and that's definitely been ground. I took out a lot of material. This one's clean, and it's copied from that. But look at the, even at the end, see where the trailing vane is? Not as pronounced. So there's like little details like that. So I've got to keep going back and working with it. But Chris Straub is nice enough to even do this, to digitize it anyway. So it's going to be a great program. It just I don't want people thinking this thing's going to be the best ever, because I don't even want to claim that. This was like, I really want this designed for like a 582 big block Chevy. You put it on there and it runs great. Because most of the other ones that are just bigger are really made for 632 and up. This thing should make a ton of power on a 582. Because I'm not into, I like the tall deck stuff, don't get me wrong, but I'd just rather have a 582 if you're going to do that. So, but anyway, my SR20 program actually flows really. Here's what's interesting. I have an SR20 program, CNC one that I developed. That lost my rear end on that program. Somebody else did that, digitized that one. They did a fantastic job, captured all the detail, worked with me, and it took a while, but man, fantastic. It flows 530, so only flowing 37 CFM less than this. But it depends, in the lift curve, there's spots where this one's like 40 CFM up from that one. But peaks to peaks, nah, they're pretty close. But this should still make some wicked power. I'm hoping maybe we can put this on something, and I'll do maybe a small cam challenge or something for this. I know Bobby from NK Performance really likes to do a small, big block Chevy stuff and would like to see this tested. Me too. But anyway, that's some of the stuff. I know it's long-winded, but let me just wrap this up. Here's what the rules are going to be for the small block Chevy Cam Challenge. I'm just going to make them official when I put it into the Google Drive. But the rules are going to be this. It looks like it's going to be between 4,000 and 7,000. We're going to run in the Torque Storm, the 84 or 5 millimeter one, and it will be NA. You'll have to NA and power outer, obviously. But the compression ratio, I think it's all on that drive now. I think it's like 11. It's higher than normal. It's like 11.44. It's on E85. Kuntz is building it right now, but the max lift you can run is like 700 because you're limited by the spring, and it's a beehive spring. This should be a hydraulic roller cam, because the way I'm going to do it, I'm telling people now, I'm not doing this whole lash thing because it's going to take forever on the small block Ford. I'm just going to, because it's going to run solid lifters, because they got a horizontal tie bar so they'll pop out of the way. But what'll happen, it just to save me from pulling the intake, what'll happen is once the cam's in there, I'm going to put the rocker on there. I'm going to let it touch, get to 0, and then I'm just going to crack it off just a little crack back. So that should give me just about 5 or 6 thousandths clearance, which is what I want. I'm tightening it down, and that's how we're running it. Similar to what a hydraulic roller would be as far as the clearance. That's how it's going to go. The range is going to be between 4,000 and 7,000 RPM. I've been working with TorqueStorm to figure out this. They think they've got a cog drive that they can run, or I said, can you at least do a 12 rib? Because I've never had a problem. Right now I have a 10 rib setup. I've never had a problem with it slipping, ever. But I could see how it might be a possibility just because of it's going to be summer when we're running it. It's hot. We're doing multiple pulls back to back. The belt might slip. They do have a 12 rib setup, so maybe they'll send that as well if they can't get the cog. Now this is the big thing in the rules. If for whatever reason, just one Cam Challenge competitor has belt slipped above 6,500 RPM, just one, no one, all the rest of the scores from 6,500 on will be eliminated. And now you're like, that's the dumbest thing ever. I know, because I don't have a definite on cog drive. If I have the cog drive, we're going to 7,000, it really won't ever be an issue. It's just the belt slip. And I'm working with TorqueStorm now. They think everything worked out, because evidently with a cog drive, there's not as many options available for belts. So you either have the supercharger way out or it's too close. So that's the problem. And I don't want it to be an issue where someone has belt slip and they don't make as much power because of belt slip. Have I ever had that issue? No. And I'm only running 10. So I think even at the 12, we should be fine. But I'm telling you now, 4,000 to 7,000. If anybody slips the belt, if we happen to run the 12 rib or 10 rib, God, I hope not, then from 6,500 on, we're taking those out. But I don't think that's going to even be an issue. So before you start, the commenters that aren't even in the challenge and don't even care and just want to hate on everything, before you say any of that, I'm just saying it now before it could be an issue. Trying to get a cog drive so we don't even have this. But it wouldn't matter anyway, because one of your pulls is in A. You won't even have the supercharger on. So, but that's what's going on. Now that wraps up any technical part, but I'd like to share one other thing for you, for those guys that have been following me from the beginning. As you know, and you can turn off now, so tune off, the technical stuff is done. Dunzo, end, call it quits. This is just other stuff, like personal stuff, but I don't mind sharing this with you. If you guys have known from the beginning, you've been following this channel, one of the things I have wanted to do all my life is learn to swim. I never got to do it as a child, and trying as an adult has been a pain. And if you, especially been following my channel long enough, when my son started swimming early in high school, I was like, I'm trying to tell him how, some things. I watched YouTube videos, so I thought I knew what I was doing. I'm trying to tell him, hey, you need to do this and this. He's like, Dad, you can't even swim. Why are you even telling me? So then I was like, I'm going to show him. So I started taking adult swim classes, which, by the way, you want to be humbled? Take an adult swim class. You're 45 years old, and you're in the pool with these kids. Well, you're not in the pool, but kids are getting out there like 6, 7, and they have no problem going all the way across the pool, all the way back. And you're like dying, and you can't even make it 7 feet. You're like, you could just glide. No, you can't. I remember when I first got in there, it was like a submarine. Pretty embarrassing, humbling, I should say. Well, anyway, as I was learning to swim, a new problem developed in my body that had never happened. And when I started having AFib episodes, that's where your heart gets out of rhythm. And it was because I'd be holding my breath because I just somehow couldn't take the breath, and it was horrible. And it caused an AFib episode. And then I was like, oh, that's just a fluke. I won't do it again. And it happened again. And then it happened again, and then it happened again. 4 total times. On the 4th time, they're like, you really need to have an ablation. That's where they go in through your leg and they burn scar tissue on your heart, and it prevents the electrical signals from crossing and causing the irregular heartbeat. And remember, I didn't do it all the time, so it wasn't like it wasn't every time I swam. It was every time I tried to go a longer distance, or if I got too nervous, it would happen. But it happened trying to swim. I wouldn't do it any other time, no lifting, walking, anything else, just swimming. So I had the operation, waited 6 months, and I was like, I'm gonna try again. And I got back in the pool and I started swimming. Went back to Miller's Adult Swim School, and this has been like a year and a half ago. And I was taking private lessons in the morning, and then swim lessons in the evening with the whole class, and just trying to get it. And I had made some pretty good progress, because now I have the ability to breaststroke, and I could do backstroke, and of course I could do freestyle. But my goal had always been to try to be able to swim a pretty good distance. Well, this last Monday, I tried. I did not win. I did not succeed. So here in Tulsa, they have this pool called McClure. It's a public pool, and it's 50 meters long. That's 54 feet, for those that are wondering. I thought, man, I could do that. I like to swim that freestyle, because I can do it. I know I could do it, because I started going to the gym here at 10 Gym. And I work out there anyway, but I don't really hardly use their pool. But that pool is 25 feet long. I could swim that no problem. Like, I could swim all the way down. It's not an issue. And I felt comfortable. So I thought, well, you know, I'd really like to think I could do a 50. That's really not that long, and truthfully, I was like, I think I could do it. Now remember, it's a race for everybody else, but for me, it's just trying to make it to the end. So it's truly an amateur race, and so it's like a fun one. And all ages could compete. So my son, by the way, right now he's in Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the University of Michigan, and he was taking a swim camp, learning some different techniques to help him. So he wasn't even here this week. So the competition took place at McClure, and they allow you to enter two things, and they're only 50 meters. And this is a long course. This is not short course, which means you're not making a turn. You're swimming all the way down to the end, 54 feet or 50 meters total. You could only enter two events, and I entered backstroke and I entered freestyle. And I asked on the backstroke, and I said, please let me use fins. I don't care if you DQ me, because I'm going to finish last anyway. And they allowed me to. So I'm going to show a partial of this attempted drowning, and you're allowed to laugh, because I'm watching it, and I knew it was bad. I just didn't know it was that bad. But I finished, and I finished it. So here's a little spectacle for you.
Hey, you look official, looking good. You want to say hi to our son?
Your mom almost tripped.
Yeah, I did.
I love you, son.
I was saying I love you to my son because I thought I was going to die. This is his girlfriend, Monica. She's a great girl. Love her family, too. She's looking at me because she's disgusted by my fat self as well. But she's doing great to hide it. And anyway, she let me borrow her goggles because I needed it, because you're going to look at the sun as you're doing backstroke. Somehow my wife thought this would be a great picture to take with me walking over to the pool. That's the Swim Tulsa coach. She coaches my son, Lynn. She's great, too. Somehow my wife thinks it looks fantastic from the back if I look like a whale. You could tell I'm definitely carrying some weight around the midsection, almost like I'm wearing a, inflatable. But no, that's really my gut. So if you're wondering, it's CGI. No, that's really it. And I'm carrying the flippers because I'm getting ready to take off. So let's watch just a little bit of me trying to drown.
That was terrible. All right, here we go. Oh, we got the fin. I kept running into the wall over here. And I'm trying to look at my head and move it all over the place. Okay.
He's sitting with her. All right.
I couldn't handle it. I think once you get up on the land,
That was hard, okay? I was way out of breath, and it was rough. But I made it to the end, so I felt really happy and stuff, and I got smoked by just the creamed. Didn't care, but I was like, this is such a long distance, and even warming up, I got in the pool to see if I could warm up and try to go the distance, and I was like, oh, shoot. I can only go like 30 feet. I can't do this 50. And so it comes up to my heat. Now, I'm not wearing flippers for the freestyle. This is legit, so this is a regular one. And what you're about to witness is horrible. And it's a heartbreaker. And I'm going to show you all 1 minute and 20 seconds. And you're like, oh my God, yes. I told you didn't have to watch this, but if you're in a good chuckle, first off, before I start that, I didn't have a swim cap, and my son's not there, but his girlfriend's working there. She's volunteering, helping the young kids. And I said, hey, I need a swim cap. And she's like, you want to wear your son's? He let me have this one. I was like, yeah, that'd be great, because it says Weingartner on the side and everything. So she helped me put it on, because I never wore a swim cap before. And she's great, and all of the Swim Tulsa kids are like cheering me on and stuff. They're such a great group of kids. I love them. Thanks everybody at Swim Tulsa, the coaches, literally everybody, okay? They are fantastic. I mean, we're talking 5 or 6, 7-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds. They're watching this whale that can't swim, the next Disney movie. And anyway, this heat that I'm in, just so you know, I'm in lane 5. You'll know because as soon as I go in, you're going to hear, ooh. You'll understand why in a second. The guy next to me is 73. The guy next to him is 72, a 65-year-old, and a 54. I am the youngest one in this group. So you need to know this as you're watching the worst possible thing ever. So here's 1 minute and 20 seconds of what did you do or didn't do, okay? By the way, just know what you're seeing is not what I thought I was doing, okay? So enjoy this little laugh.
Oh, he's getting up there. Oh, gosh.
Take your mark.
Oh, gosh. Come on. There you go. Keep going. Come on, Eric! Come on, David, go! Let's go!
My sister drove all the way up from Norman just to watch this. Now, she's not trying to laugh. She thought, I'm so proud of you. And everybody kept saying how proud they were of me. If you didn't notice, I didn't make it to the end. I made it 40 feet. And here's the thing. There's a line at the bottom of the pool. And I kept waiting for this big old square to appear because it means you got like 5 yards to go. And I'm like, how many more? How much further is this? Is this the infinite road? And I was like, oh my gosh. And I really thought when I dived in that I was underwater because I couldn't judge depth for nothing. So I thought I'm dolphin kicking because I'm down deep. No, it turns out I belly flopped and was already back at the surface, dolphin kicking for no reason. And I thought I was like moving relatively fast in water and that my head wasn't popping out for every breath. That wasn't the case. I also didn't think my left arm was crossing way over my head. Clearly, that's not the case. This left arm in the water, bench press, this thing, and biceps, I can lift more in the left arm than I can in the right. I'm right-handed. Left arm's super strong. It don't listen for shit. It says, you know what, I'm going to go this way. You know, you could tell me I'm going to go over here, but you know what, no, I'm going to here. Maybe here. You know, let's do weird. It doesn't listen to me. And, yeah, it sucked. And so I stood up and I was like, I could. They're like, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And I made it all the way to the end after the pause. I'm so disappointed in myself. Because I didn't even know I was that close. If I'd known that, I might have been able to struggle through just a little bit more. Heart was fine though. For those that wonder, well, how's your heart? It was A-okay. I was just exhausted. I so want to try again, but I'm fairly certain they're like, we can't have you swim this without a lifeguard here. Which I could make it past the deep end, obviously. I really am tempted to talk to the Swim Tulsa coach because they practice there and be like, hey, so can you set up a race between me and my son? He can go 100 and I'll go a 50. Hopefully I can make it to the end because I think that would be a great challenge. Actually, not really great at all because my time was a 108. I was faster in the backstroke, hitting the lane line 70 times. Somehow I hit the lane line doing freestyle too. Left arm doesn't care. Like, it's right there. We'll just touch it. But I did a 108. Bishop's like in 100 on the long course. I think he's like a 56 or something. I think he is. Way faster. But I bet you'll have his best time ever trying to race his pops because I can tell you, every son wants to whip their dad when they're younger. That's why he's like, you want to race? It's not even a challenge, son. I could put on fins and a snorkel and you'll still smoke me if we tried doing a 50. Trust me, I've tried. But anyway, yay, I did it. I have to wait a whole another year to get a chance to do another 50. I'm not giving up, by the way. I'm going to try to lose this gut. I thought it might act as a flotation device. Maybe it does, but it sure looks bad on camera, I'll tell you that. Thank God everybody was there cheering me on. That was really cool. Really, really cool. Definitely memorable. But I felt bad I couldn't even do it for them. It's the week before I saw like a 6-year-old literally make it down to the end, and he was stopping and breathing on the side and kick. He would have beat me. When I say I'm no Superman, I mean it. I'm no Superman though. I did race Superboy. I know poor cast iron heads. You guys take care.